Hey everyone, this is Burning Gravity here, and today I am going to just make a quick video about some tips and tricks for doing a little bit better in Xenoblade. So this game is, at least for me, very fun, but I will admit that it doesn't put a lot of effort into teaching you stuff. It does teach you quite a bit, and people talk to you and stuff, but one main thing is, if you really want to learn, you got to go into the manual and look stuff up. And I know going through the manual is a crazy thing, but it's actually really useful because it's actually pretty well made. Like you can see here, right? It tells you the information. You can click on the stuff and it takes you there. You can you find out okay, cool. So there's order companions around, item, emergency escape. There's all these useful things that unless you're pressing buttons randomly and kind of exploring the menus and whatnot, you might not find out. There's also stuff like buffs and debuffs, which you have icons here, and because the game has to condense a lot of information into a little bit of space, it has to use these icons, and here you can actually figure out, okay, here's what these icons do. Okay, so blue icons are good, it means stuff is up, that kind of thing. Alright, here's what this aura icon is, invincible. You get all these different things. Weather effects, you might not even know that there are effects from weather, and also battle probes. So one thing I can't do is show you my my gamepad screen, just because I don't have a good webcam setup or anything where I can do that, or a specific gamepad recorder. But for my thing, the main thing is just that I find in general is you want to explore everything in this game. So go around. I know maybe it's not exactly your thing, but go around, talk to people, see what happens. Not only will you find information and get kind of interesting things, you'll get to learn about characters and their personalities. Sometimes it will expand your information in the affinity chart. Just walking around, you'll find these yellow talky things that will give you more segments. You'll find other little bits of information like this. Sometimes it's just talk, sometimes it's actually useful tips. And then also exploring, you'll find that new quests. What I like to do is if I see a red icon for a quest, I just start the quest, and then keep it there. And then once I started the quest, I can go into missions here, and I can just kind of access the quest whenever. So you'll see I've started a lot of quests. Some of these are just basic missions, and some of these are actual quests, and there's no real rush to do them. So if I happen to chance upon the right area or the right monsters, I'll do them. Or sometimes I'm just in a questy mood and I go ahead and do them. Some of them I maybe I'm just not strong enough to do, or something else. I'm missing some item. I know for the items you can it can be a little bit difficult. Sometimes you have to Google where the item is, or you found some of the items but you can't find the rest. One quick trick is once you figure out where the item is, just keep going to that same place via fast travel and it will reset the items. I think there's also ways to boost your chance of finding rare items, but I forget how. Another thing is you can also use reward tickets to get some items that are more difficult to find. And reward tickets you get via the squad missions, which, as you can see at the bottom right, you can flip through here and see the different squad missions and the different monsters. And then if you go into the intel, you can go into the enemy index, sort by region, sort by type. Also, sorting by type is important because when you're going through equipment, you have to know what theroids, insectoids, piscinoids, all of these are. And of course, memorizing all the monsters is difficult. You've also got all of these. Filling out your collectopedia is pretty good. As you can see here, I'm only missing 2 things so far to finish Primordia. You also get some bonuses to the battle points, which should go to all of your members. And those battle points can be used to upgrade arts and skills. And I'm just going to run through arts and skills real quick. I'm just trying to run through a lot of this quick information. So you can see my art setup here. I've maxed out some of my attack skills. I like to have, for every character, have one kind of skill with a very low cooldown. In this case, it's backslash. This is just useful. I'm always doing something, I'm always dealing damage. It gets to the secondary cooldown very quick. I have my TP ones, like Stream Edge and 100 Shells. 100 Shells does more damage behind the enemy. So you really know this. So you say, okay, hit skilling is 150, hits is 14, how much damage will that do? Knowing the cooldowns is useful. So for instance, Stream Edge and 100 Shells have the same cooldown, right? So sometimes it's a matter of if I don't have TP for both, I have to pick one or the other. Another thing is here you'll notice that Blood Sacrifice, which has the current HP to boost TP by 1000. Now this damage, when you have lower HP, it deals higher damage. So sometimes I can use Blood Sacrifice and then chain that with Electric Surge, which is more useful. And then on top of that, use an aura. And the reason why I use this aura is not just because it boosts melee accuracy, melee attack, and potential, but also if you go into my skills, you'll notice that one of my skills, assuming I haven't changed it, well, I'm using a different skill set now, but what I had before is I have a skill, there's a skill that extends aura effects by 4, that's good. What's the real skill that I wanted? I'm trying to find it, just 1 second. There's a skill here that boosts critical chance by 20% when HP is 50% or less. So for instance, if you know you're trying to get criticals, maybe criticals increase TP, and you know that your HP is generally low, you might want to have this skill. The skill I was actually looking for, I am stupid and cannot find it, but it increases your, there we go, lifeline. Increases 20% of your, recovers 20% of your HP when HP is at 50% or less, and you use an aura. So using, what's it called? Using, Blood Sacrifice followed by that works out because I regain HP, assuming that I use the aura after, and then after that, I can deal more damage, and if I have leftover TP, I can use stronger attacks. Also, equipment-wise, well, one thing you can see here is I have a lot of Marinium. Setting up the probes is super important. I suggest going through, not only do you want to explore constantly, you want to set up your probes constantly, you want to check quests constantly. Just keep going through quests. For the gathering quests, what I suggest doing is not doing them at first, and then just always gathering items whenever you can, and then going through and just try and finish any gathering quest instantly. If you already have the items, you'll instantly finish it. I did not mean to do that. And because of that, it's a good way of just getting some money. You can also quickly boost affinity by doing quests, because everyone who was in the quest, who's in your party when you finish a quest, gets the affinity boost. Here you'll see my setup. It's actually not that great right now, just because I haven't been messing with it. You'll see I have level 35 equipment, even though I'm level 47, which level only matters so much. The main thing is the base stats and the additional effects here. You'll see I have a lot of melee attack up here, and also potential boost. So potential is a stat that increases damage from TPRs, which is very useful. So when you use TP arts, you want high potential to deal as much damage as you can. Right now I only have 128, but as I get later into the end game, this will increase, and I can get that, above 200, even to 300s and 400s. And augments. The reason why I really came here was to talk about augments. So if I check this machine becomes available after you do a certain quest, which is why it's really important to do quests. You need to unlock the different arms manufacturers so you have more equipment. You need to unlock stuff like this, L's shop, where you can go to a character and with the right right amount of Marinium, you can actually increase slots. So there's a current / max of 1 of 3. Now I have that. I can do another one, and it shows the required Marinium. Now I only have 17,600 Marinium left. So having a lot of Marinium is useful because this is really expensive. But this also is a great way to spend any excess Marinium you have. So here now I can, if I go into my gear, I can go ahead and add more augments to that. And augments you get by exploring, defeating enemies, opening chests, all of that. Here you can see. So, I've actually, out of all the AMs I've unlocked, because I made sure to get high Marinium, which again you can't see on my gamepad, but it's just a matter of setting up probes and using duplicated probes and that kind of thing correctly. And all these probes you get by quests and exploring. So again, quests and exploring, so important. It's really what the game wants you to do. It doesn't really just want you to rush through the story. You see, I have level 5, now I have a lot more equipment options. That gives me more options to fight, difficult monsters that maybe have specific attacks. And, when it comes to that, maybe, I don't know, monster, I can go into Intel, I can go into the enemy index, and I can kind of see, alright, enemies by category, I can check, alright, humanoids, so this Marnik race, what are their strengths and weaknesses? I press A to toggle the display. I say, okay, they are weak against beam attacks here. You see the -20 by beam. Everything else I have a slight advantage. So if I want to beat these guys easier, I could use attacks that have high beam. And you can see their stats in general. Look at the HP, the potential, etc. this guy's a tyrant, actually, is what it seems like. But yeah, you can see that generally enemies in the same category. I can keep going down here, and you know they all have a weakness to beam attacks here, right? So you know, okay, like I couldn't see this this one probably because I haven't beaten it or fought it enough or whatever. But I can kind of guess based on the category, alright, it's probably weak against beam attacks. So even for monsters or enemies that you haven't beaten it, that's useful. And for some reason I disconnected from the server. But yeah, we're already 10 minutes in, and there's just so much to talk about. The affinity chart here can help you see your levels, that kind of thing. Field skill levels for that at the bottom right. Suggest mechanical, as most people do. After that, it's really up to you. I did archaeological just because I like the bonuses to the battle points, and sometimes you actually get probes from that too. And I'm saving biological for last, but it's not a huge deal either way. And what I'm going to do now is, I don't have anything immediate that I want to talk about, so I am going to go ahead and just do a quick battle. As far as probes go, you'll notice it says production, revenue, and battle support. Battle support isn't too important because battle probes aren't too important, especially until late game. But while you're still in the main game and you're still trying to get Muranium and revenue, you want high production ratings if you want high Muranium. And for revenue, the most important thing is, in my opinion, is if you can get sightseeing spots, because this increases your revenue a lot. Getting a high revenue rating is also useful. Getting chains are also useful, but sometimes you even can forego chains because you have a duplicator probe, and duplicator probes are oftentimes more beneficial to your overall rank. So don't be scared to try different rankings. So here I'm going to use Electric Surge. Get that. Actually, I have to play this guy. Okay. Now I already have backslash going, so I can see from the different labels where I'm attacking exactly. I'm going to use this even though it's not fully charged. This will get me enough TP, and now I can use Scream Edge and do 9,000 damage. And he's already beat it. So even though that guy was stronger than my level and everyone else, I can quickly defeat him just by chaining attacks like that. A high potential, plus I think I set up the aura. Not totally sure. Plus everything else, damage. And just like that, I can get super high damage. And honestly, I'm not even afraid. Like, I use that skill pretty really. Another thing is that the reason why I use Sliding Stinger here is because it's a ranged attack, and Extreme Edge does more damage. Start it, do it from a ranged combo, which means you need to do a ranged attack before you do it. So here I'm just going to go and use my aura. I'm going to take some damage here, so I'm using Electric Surge, just some solid damage. Now I can just really just finish and do this from the side. And that should finish him. Okay, even if I didn't finish him, I could just quickly get some TP and use 100 shells and beat him like that. So my playstyle is a very high damage playstyle. You can do a more defensive playstyle. You can kind of use different topple setups based on the enemy. I know some arts will only topple specific enemies. Some arts will topple lots in general. Like Lyn has a good art that's TP based that will topple a lot. Topple is just super useful. Another thing, I'm just gonna find one more enemy. So I mean, really, there I could have really done much more damage. Same with the side slash. I'm talking and playing. But here you can see 100 shells is another great TP based art. A lot of the times when you're exploring, you want to avoid enemies. So here, if I have a hard time seeing, I can zoom out, and that can kind of help a little bit. You can see how much TP I get. It's important knowing the different effects. So stagger here, for instance, once someone's staggered, they can get toppled. And I'm just gonna. I have so much TP right now. Right now, for whatever reason, I have a TP cap of 3,000 I was playing before, but I suggest having a little bit more, just because TP is so useful that it's good to have some extra. And I'm about to die, so let me finish it. Or die before. Okay, Van just beat him. But yeah, just like that, by fighting these larger enemies that are much tougher than me, everyone else gets, weighted experience, meaning because they're weaker, they get more experience from fighting these much stronger enemies, and that's a good way to quickly level them up if I need to. So another thing I can do here is, and you can do this with Elma if you're not using the same class as my primary class, which I believe is called, it's a dual gunner or something like that. So for instance, if I want to avoid this enemy, I already have enough TP, but I can use Board Sacrifice, and because I'm not in battle, I will heal HP, and I can use Shadowrunner, and just by running past him, I can avoid him. And this is not like a super secret technique or anything, but just like simple stuff like that, can be useful. Knowing your different techniques and options, obviously jumping on cliffs is really fun. It's a good way to avoid enemies. Also going through scales, sometimes it's useful if you're about to die, even if you're at half HP and you see an attack coming and it's from like a level 60 tyrant, just hop off the scale and die, and at least you won't lose your scale and you don't risk, having to rebuy your scale, or use a salvage ticket from the Division Awards or whatever. Just stuff like that. Knowing your, in skill battles, knowing all of your arts and your artifacts are, because you don't have secondary cooldowns and other things, you have to kind of know your stuff better. So, for instance,
I'm going in. Use melee
I have an attack that does thermal damage here. So, okay, is this thermal damage? If you're going to stagger, is there someone that can top of the map or do you stagger? Here I have something that inflicts beam res down. So after that, I can use this beam blade, but it's not a mechanoid, so this attack isn't going to be good. So maybe if I know I'm not fighting mechanoids, I will change my setup to get a different art that's more effective in general, as opposed to something different. Or I have another art that does major damage to toppled enemies. It is this Breaker Blade versus toppled targets. Boost damage quite a bit. So if I have my, setting for rallies is also important. You can only kind of issue commands here. But having something where I can topple enemies and then use the Breaker Blade to break them. And also maybe border skill, commands. If you really need to, I even have some items stacked up just from the Division Awards. So just different things. Knowing all of your tools in hand and knowing how they can be combined. Yeah, it is kind of into it, but I think it's also super rewarding. And later on, eventually you can get some good equipment that you can break the game, and it's almost no fun because you can just one-shot everything. But yeah, that's the gist. I'm going to end it there. I end up talking way more than I wanted just because there's so much to say about this game. I know a lot of people are having a hard time playing it, and honestly I feel a little bit bad because the game could have definitely done better, and I think that's probably why they did the survival guides, Nintendo did, because the game it does kind of expect you to learn a lot on your own or be familiar with these types of games to some extent, which I am, but of course not everyone is, and not everyone can just kind of pick it up naturally or understand from the how to put things together from the manual. The game's a little bit intuitive, but it's definitely a lot of it's definitely not fully intuitive, and you can see here I'm relatively strong, but I don't even have flight. But like other people, everyone has their own playstyle in this game. If you play your own playstyle and it doesn't kind of match exactly with the game's playstyle, it can be a pretty rough ride, and I definitely sympathize with that. So with that, I'm gonna end this video. Thanks for watching. And this is definitely a very casual video. You can see I didn't do any cuts or anything. But besides that, I hope you still found it a little bit useful if you were looking for some tips on just how to maybe struggle a little bit less in this game. I mean, even I'm still finding out some new things. And this is actually my second playthrough. So yeah. All right. With that, thanks for watching.